Is he going to want to remain in Green Bay, or is he going to approach the team and say, I would prefer that you trade me? Behind the scenes, I'm told that the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers representation are working on a deal, but the two sides are at least going back and forth, having discussions.
The Green Bay Packers' future was in flux last year, and it was a very murky situation in regards to how their future was going to look. There was no doubt in any of our minds that there were multiple directions that this franchise could have taken. And while it did seem like their one goal was clear, after the start that they got to this year, one has to question whether or not it was the right decision to begin with. So I'm going to give you a brief history lesson, because a lot of people seem to have forgotten how we got here to begin with. Before we get to the content, just a reminder, we do $100 cash giveaways to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel at the end of every week. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let me take you all the way back to the Green Bay Packers playoff defeat last year at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. Bear in mind, this isn't even the entire story of how we got here. If you even remember, prior to the end of last season, Aaron Rodgers, during the day of the 2021 NFL Draft, said that he was disgruntled with the state of the Green Bay Packers. He cited multiple things that frustrated him about the way the team was run, from letting go of players like Julius Peppers, Randall Cobb, and even trading a player that was a practice squad wide receiver in Jake Kumaro. He was so upset that he demanded that the general manager of the Packers, Brian Gutekunst, either steps down or that they trade Aaron Rodgers. He even threatened to retire at a specific point. Ultimately, the Green Bay Packers made a series of decisions to appease Aaron Rodgers. No, they weren't able to bring back Jake Kumaro, but they were able to bring back Randall Cobb, for instance. And it seemed like the whole issue that Aaron Rodgers had with the Green Bay Packers was the fact that he was not involved in personnel decisions. Still, regardless, going into last season, there was a lot of themes of this being Aaron Rodgers' last season. For example, both him and Davante Adams posted a picture of The Last Dance onto their Instagram stories. Little did we know that The Last Dance wasn't referring to Aaron Rodgers' potential last dance, which is how we all took it. Rather, it was Davante Adams' last dance. Regardless, towards the end of last season, despite having an MVP season with Davante Adams still on the roster, Aaron Rodgers had this to say about his future.
There's a lot of unknowns going into this offseason now. I'm gonna have to take some time away for sure and clear my head and kind of see what's going on with everything. Pretty tough right now, especially thinking about the guys that may or may not be here next year. It's really tough to get to this point. Really, really tough.
This sent the entire NFL world into a frenzy. I mean, going all the way back to the 2021 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos were laser focused on getting themselves Aaron Rodgers. It was going to be Peyton Manning to the Denver Broncos Part 2. They were so sure of this that despite desperately needing a quarterback and having Justin Fields on the board with the 9th overall pick, the Denver Broncos decided to go defense, opting for Patrick Surtain with the number 9 pick, which is something that I'll always love them for, because the Cowboys were projected to take Surtain, but since he wasn't available, they traded back to the 12th pick, allowing Devontae Smith to be selected by the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys to select Micah Parsons. So for that, thank you so much, Aaron Rodgers, finally hooking up my Dallas Cowboys for once. But I want you to understand how rampant these rumors truly were. I mean, you had Jordan Schultz tweeting this all the way in February 18, 2022. Several teams, including the Denver Broncos, have been reaching out to the Green Bay Packers about Aaron Rodgers. The issue? Green Bay has shown zero interest. With the Tom Clements hire, there's a growing belief in Green Bay that the two-time reigning MVP will remain a Packer. Aaron Rodgers was questioned mercilessly about his future. I mean, from him receiving the NFL MVP award and then stating that he had no idea what his future was going to look like, to him literally playing golf, someone saying, come to the Denver Broncos, and him saying, we'll see. Regardless, the Denver Broncos went all in on trying to get Aaron Rodgers, hiring his former offensive coordinator and a man that he's very fond of in Nathaniel Hackett to potentially entice Aaron to come over to Denver. I mean, take a look at this clip on Aaron Rodgers and what he had to say about Hackett.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the number one thing. There's nobody in the building that brings me more joy or is more fun to be around than Nathaniel Hackett. We got some great guys, some guys I've enjoyed playing with for a long time. I knew based on his friendship with AVP, Alex Van Pelt, that we were going to be friends just because Alex is such a great dude and him and I had such a great friendship. I just knew Hack and I were going to bond, but he's become, such a close confidant and friend, besides a fantastic coach. And I just really, really can't express enough how important he is to our team in so many ways. He's incredible in front of a room. He brings a lot of great energy that's really important to not just meetings that can sometimes, without the energy he infuses, maybe get long at times. Never feels that way with him in front of the room. But Hack has really embraced the idea of celebration together as well, which I think is such a vital part of us coming together and being a close-knit group. I think he's got a great mind. Hack has been a really important part of our culture change and a part of our success on offense. I love him. Hope he doesn't go anywhere. Unless I do.
So there's no doubt in our minds that there was a crazy offer available for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers was having a blast toying with the media. I mean, throughout all of this, he put out this Instagram post that we overanalyzed to no end. You guys remember this? Gratitude is the wine for the soul. Go on and get drunk. And then he posted a pretty much what seemed like a farewell to everyone. To remind you, the post was, here's some #Monday Night Gratitude for some of the incredibly special people in my life, with some pictures from the last beautiful year. First, he shows love to Shailene Woodley before saying, to the men that I got to share the QB room with every day, Matt, Nathaniel, Luke, @Jordan Love, and Kurt Banker, you guys made every day so much fun, and I'm so thankful for the daily laughs and stress relief you brought me every week of the year. I love you guys. To the Friday crew, @The Cobbs, @David Bakhtiari, @Frankie Shebby, I love every moment we got to spend together this year. Your love and support was overwhelming, and I cherish the friendships I have with each of you. To my teammates past and current, you are the icing on the beautiful cake we call our job, football. The friendships that we have will transcend our collective time in this game, and I am so thankful for the role that each of you have played in making my life that much better. I love you guys and cherish the memories we've made. That sounds like a guy that's on his way out. Ultimately, we know what would end up happening. And bear in mind, the overanalysis was wild during this time. I mean, do you guys remember this picture of Davante Adams standing next to Randall Cobb without Aaron Rodgers in between, which is where he typically stands? I mean, this was even overanalyzed by the great Ari Meirov. Aaron Rodgers usually stands in between Davante Adams and Randall Cobb during the national anthem. The final picture in his Instagram post is a photo of Cobb and Adams with an empty space between them from the game that he missed. It just seemed to make so much sense. As a matter of fact, I was so convinced that this move was going to be made that I bet on the Denver Broncos to win the Super Bowl before any such transaction could be made, and in hindsight, I look like an absolute dumbass for doing it. To give you an idea, the Denver Broncos were set to offer a first-round pick and a second-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft and a first-round pick in 2023 in exchange for Aaron Rodgers. So reports out of Denver are that the Broncos are ready to offer the 9th pick this year, their second-round pick this year, and next year's first for Aaron Rodgers. To beat that, the Steelers would have to offer more. Anyone really believe that's happening or prudent? It just seemed like there was no chance at all whatsoever that Aaron would return to Green Bay. I mean, considering everything that just went down, the Green Bay Packers had a horrible cap situation. There was no way, shape, or form that they were going to be able to bring back a team that was even better than last year's team for this year. And there was this great opportunity to sell high on Aaron Rodgers, which I understand we're all looking at Tom Brady do the stuff that he was able to do up until his age 44 season. But whenever you have the opportunity to trade a 38-year-old two-time MVP quarterback for multiple first-round picks and a second-round pick, and you have a young QB waiting for you in the wings, that's a remarkable opportunity. I mean, could you imagine if the Green Bay Packers traded both Aaron Rodgers and, well, I don't know if Davante Adams would have been traded as well, because the main reason Davante Adams didn't stay in Green Bay is he wasn't necessarily sure how long Aaron Rodgers was going to be a Packer for. And don't get me wrong, there's still rumors that Aaron Rodgers might retire at the end of this upcoming season, as you can see via Michael Balco Jr., which, with respect to him, I don't necessarily know how legitimate that report is. That's why it's a rumor. So with that being said, the Green Bay Packers were in a situation situation where they could have potentially recouped 3 first-round picks and multiple second-round picks and third-round picks if they decided to trade Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, and then they could move forward with Jordan Love. This solves their salary cap situation, which was absolutely abysmal, while also passing the torch seamlessly to Jordan Love. And it seems like ultimately the nostalgia that Aaron Rodgers felt with the Green Bay Packers was his primary motivation for returning. I think that, and the fact that he was offered $50 million a year, which, by the way, do you remember when people said that Aaron Rodgers' decision was never about the money? I don't really take anything that Greg Jennings says about Aaron Rodgers to heart because he's a bona fide hater. He loves hating on his former QB any chance he gets. But saying that Aaron Rodgers wanted to be the NFL's highest paid player at the time was a take that was destroyed by a lot of the media, including his teammates, saying, "I'll take lots of salt, get a new narrative to spread. 12 is the most generous and thoughtful person I've met in the league, not to mention the back-to-back best player." This sounds like it comes from a person that wanted to be the guy but wasn't. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't a thoughtful guy. I think if Greg Jennings put his take a little bit more gently, maybe it would have been better received, because there was multiple news sources saying that Aaron Rodgers wanting $50 million plus a year was categorically false. Rodgers knows that the Packers cap isn't set up for a deal like that with wanting certain players back. Ultimately, what ended up happening? Aaron Rodgers returned and became the highest paid player in the NFL. And the Green Bay Packers decided to punt on their younger star in Davante Adams, trading him to the Las Vegas Raiders, recouping assets in return for Davante Adams, and hoping to get lucky in the NFL draft while they rebuild the wide receiver core around Aaron Rodgers. Look, I'm gonna be honest, that's worked in the past. I've seen this so many times. I've seen Aaron Rodgers throughout his entire career take second-round pick and third-round pick wide receivers and turn them into household names. I mean, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Randall Cobb. So I could understand the philosophy, but the whole decision in of itself was very questionable to say the least. Primarily because if you had Aaron Rodgers on your team for the last 2 seasons and he won NFL MVP and he had a significantly better supporting cast then and wasn't able to win a Super Bowl, by the way, what makes you think he's going to be able to do any better this season with a significantly worse supporting cast and another year older, especially now that you paid him the amount that you did? Ultimately, this seemed to have been a horrific mistake by the Green Bay Packers. Now, granted, I'm going to be honest, there is definitely a chance that Aaron Rodgers does something great and turns his season around, and maybe the Green Bay Packers figure out their chemistry issues moving down the line. But if you just look at everything that the Green Bay Packers are dealing with, the odds are stacked against him. I mean, just look at his offensive line. We don't know what's going on with David Bakhtiari. Every single week, it's a different story with him, and I hope he gets healthy. Romeo Doubs, the rookie wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers appeared to have the best chemistry with, is now out with an injury for multiple weeks. By the way, their chemistry wasn't that fantastic. It was just developing. So a thin wide receiver room becomes even more thin, and the Green Bay Packers are in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, losing to a team that had the #1 overall pick until they beat the Green Bay Packers, throwing 3 interceptions against them. And by the way, those 3 interceptions against the Detroit Lions wasn't because of stellar defense by the Detroit Lions. It was because of horrific throws by Aaron Rodgers, which were followed by Aaron Rodgers yelling at his team. I know it's really hard to look at your franchise cornerstone QB and decide to move on from him, but I think the Green Bay Packers made a horrific mistake here. Just imagine a world where they decided to accept the Denver Broncos trade offer, and then on top of that, decided to accept the Las Vegas Raiders trade for Davante Adams. And who knows, maybe Davante Adams would have stayed, because again, his primary concern was the fact that he didn't know how long Aaron Rodgers was going to be on the Packers at that point, but I'm thinking more likely than not he was going to move on anyways. Regardless, when you take into consideration that the Green Bay Packers would have had the number 22 overall pick in this NFL draft and a number 53 overall pick in this NFL draft, in addition to the picks that the Broncos would have sent to them as well and their own picks, that's a fantastic way to start a rebuild, man. And you put Jordan Love in quite possibly the greatest situation to succeed to determine whether or not he truly is the guy under center, which, by the way, I saw flashes from him in the preseason. But here's the thing, this wasn't only a horrific mistake by the Green Bay Packers, it was also a horrific mistake by Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it depends on his priorities. Maybe he truly just wanted $50 million a year and that was his top priority. assuming that wasn't the case, and assuming he cared about his legacy a little bit more and just wanted more Super Bowls, you look at the Denver Broncos roster, especially this past offseason, they had the highest salary cap out of every team entering the offseason. They have a remarkable wide receiver core: Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. I mean, Greg Dulcich is coming out of nowhere. They had Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Their defense is pretty damn good, especially before they traded Bradley Chubb as well. I honestly think that if Aaron Rodgers went to the Denver Broncos, things would have been significantly different, because although we're seeing questionable decisions by Nathaniel Hackett, I've seen Aaron Rodgers carry coaches before. So ultimately, this is just a horrific situation all around. It's a horrible mistake for both the Green Bay Packers and for Aaron Rodgers, but who knows? We're only halfway through the season. There's a lot of football left to be played. For all you know, Aaron Rodgers destroys the Dallas Cowboys and makes me cry on my channel next week. You never know, but you have to admit, when looking at this, and of course I'm playing Captain Hindsight here, the alternative situation for both Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers would have been better. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.